sex with thousands of women. He was a genetic specimen, 2.18 meters tall, intelligent and obedient. He was deemed perfect for the role of a breeder. Known as Peka, he was bought specifically to produce children for his master's benefit. He would engage in relations with female slaves, aiming to generate a strong labor force. Due to his success in producing, he received favorable treatment. He didn't do manual labor, he was constantly checked for diseases, and he was well fed. His only job was to impregnate other slave women. His owner would rent him out to other slave owners. He fathered over 200 children who were just as strong and intelligent as he was. They too lived their lives as slaves. When slavery was abolished in Brazil in 1888, he received a plot of land from his master. He later found love and had 9 children with his wife.
I know that was hard for many of you to hear. As a matter of fact, it was hard for me to really accept that when I was a young man. You see, when I was about 20, 21 years old, and I was in the Marine Corps, we were sailing across the Atlantic, and I engaged into a conversation with a staff sergeant of mine who was very racist Mississippi. And we were talking about how in the Olympics, why American athletes in the Summer Olympics seems to be far superior than most other countries in many of the sports. And the racist staff sergeant started saying that, well, the only reason the American blacks are so far advanced is because of the interbreeding, the breeding that was done during slavery, the forced breeding that was done like horses. Because otherwise, then the African nations would be winning just as many gold medals and silver medals as the Americans do. And this is leading into the 92 Olympics, because it was announced that the U.S. team would be basketball players, the professionals would be able to play. To him, he meant it as an insult, of course, as a way of getting under my skin, because we constantly went at each other for 2.5 years. And it bothered me. Because I was like, my ancestors weren't treated like that. I know of other indignities, but we weren't treated that way. I never was taught anything like that in school. This racist of a man, not from Mississippi, cannot be correct. It's an impossibility. That was my thinking at that time frame. But upon doing further research, I came to realize that he was telling the truth. That when the importation of slaves from Africa in America ended in 1808, and it didn't end to 1860 in Brazil, which is where the gentleman was from, that after 1808, what became normal in the colonies it was America at this time frame, was to breed your slaves, was to find that young, strong Mandingo buck, send him around to father as many children as he possibly could. Of course, he wouldn't be able to be these children's father in the sense of caring for them and teaching them and nurturing them. No, but simply as a breeder, as you do a thoroughbred who won the Kentucky Derby. That this was his lot in life, and this was the lot of many in life. And that the trauma that these women had to suffer because this atrocity of being treated like animals was going on. It was a very difficult thing. And it made me have to admit that I understood why athletically the prowess in America, beyond just better medicines and better training, that there was a natural genetic stock that other countries didn't have, because this wasn't something that was forced in the African colonies, so they didn't have to endure this humiliation. But it's that little known things of American history that we need to know about. It's those little known things that make it important for us to understand. If we don't pay attention to it, how we can slide back into it. I know many people are against CRT, but this is the reason why we need things like CRT, because as they say with the Holocaust, let's never forget. These are things we should never forget, that we pass on to our children so they can understand the dangers of what could happen if our people were to fall into such a discourse again, and what the trauma that would happen to our families, to our children, to our women, to our young girls, to our boys, and how it would further destroy the family, which is the structure that we build our entire existence on. So I hope this little known fact is beneficial to you, but beneficial in a way that makes you realize how important it is that we cultivate, maintain, and teach our own history. So always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.